What is going on, and welcome to part 3 of my 2023 NBA playoff ranking series. Today I'm going to be ranking every single starting small forward for the 2023 NBA playoffs. I will also be covering the power forward and center positions over the coming days, so be sure to hit that like and subscribe button to stay tuned for those videos. Now, these rankings are based purely off of who I want in these playoffs, and not for next season, not who's historically better, just these playoffs. And I will be taking into consideration each player's overall skill set as well as the role that they're asked to play on their team. Now, I will be cheating a little bit in these rankings in the sense that some of the guys don't actually technically start at small forward. So for example, Jayson Tatum, who is in this ranking, he starts at power forward, but if you ask anyone, they're going to tell you he's a small forward, not a power forward. So I'm ranking him as a small forward. And so without any further ado, kicking off the list at number 16, I've got Isaac Okoro, who is a fantastic defender, but the Cavs will need more out of him on the offensive side of things if they do want to make a deep playoff run. He doesn't really offer much outside of the occasional wide open spot up three, which although he's shooting a respectable 36.3% on the season, he doesn't really keep defenses honest, and teams will just live with the result whether it makes or misses them. At number 15, I've got Keegan Murray, who has set the record for the most threes made in a season by a rookie with 206 makes, and he has shown some great potential and improvement on the defensive end. He did have both a poor Game 1 and Game 2 against Golden State Warriors, with head coach Mike Brown favoring both Davion Mitchell and Malik Monk during crunch time situations, and I wouldn't be surprised if that trend does continue, but regardless, Keegan Murray, he's only a rookie, he's got a very promising future ahead of him. At number 14, I've got Kyle Anderson, and this is cheating a little bit here as well because I know that Nickeil Alexander-Walker does start at the 3, and he has started in both the play-in tournament as well as Game 1 against the Nuggets. But Slow-Mo obviously plays huge minutes off the bench, and he's much more of a natural small forward than Nickeil Alexander-Walker is, and so I've got him here instead. Slow-Mo is a very high IQ player who's averaging a career-high 4.9 assists per game for the Timberwolves, and is both a great defender and a rebounder, and is pretty much a high-end role player on any team, but it just lacks that ceiling that a lot of the guys ahead of him do have. So at number 13, I do have RJ Barrett, and I don't want to sound like a hater because I actually really like RJ Barrett, but he might just be the worst 20-point scorer in the entire league. His shot chart is flat out abysmal because he's shooting below league average on every area of the court. Defensively, Barrett has all the tools to become a great defender, and although I do think he has improved on the ball, overall, he's still a below average defender, or maybe average at best. The Knicks as a whole have a minus 0.6 net rating when Barrett is on the floor and a plus 10.0 net rating when he's off, which is a massive swing. And whilst we have seen flashes of Barrett's potential, and he does sometimes look like an all-star, but those moments are just far and few in between. Next up, at number 12, I've got DeAndre Hunter, who is one of those guys who's labeled as a 3-and-D wing, but isn't really great at either one of them, nor is he consistent when it comes to shooting the 3-ball or defending at a high level. To his credit, he's pretty good at finding his own shot, especially in the mid-range area. And similar to RJ Barrett, I think Hunter has a ton of potential, but is just yet to put everything together when it comes to, his rebounding, his steals, and shot blocking rates, which are insanely low for someone with his size and tools. At number 11, I've got Dillon Brooks. Look, hate the guy all you want, but he certainly doesn't lack confidence, and he's one of the best on-ball defenders in the league, as opponents are shooting 2.9% less than their season average when defended by Brooks. The issue with him, though, is that he's a little too trigger-happy at times, even though he's clearly not a great offensive player, and as a result, his offensive efficiency sucks, and it kind of hurts the Grizzlies, not to mention all the shit-talking that he does for the entire league, which probably won't age well, when it comes to the Grizzlies. At number 10, give me Cam Johnson, who, alongside Mikal Bridges, has played very well since being traded to the Nets, averaging 16.6 points per game in the regular season, and is a great three-point shooter and a very good switchable defender who you can plug and play in any team, really, whether it's as a starter or off the bench. At number 9, I've got Tobias Harris, who is one of the most overpaid players in the league, but is in a situation where he's being made the 4th option offensively, and he is not really doing much besides, becoming a spot-up shooter. His defense has quietly improved to his credit, but on nights when, Embiid, Harden, or Maxey are having off games, or even in situations where Harris is, leading the second unit alongside maybe one of Embiid, Harden, or Maxey, he's not aggressive enough, and more often than not, you'll find him ending the game playing 35 minutes and only attempting 7 shots, and he's making 4 of them. And so he has proven that he is a legit 20-point per game scorer, in the past, but he's just not aggressive enough, really. At number 8, I've got Michael Porter Jr., who I think deserves a ton of credit for improving on the defensive end where he's no longer a complete liability. And he's quietly become one of the best 3-point shooters in the league as well, ranking 8th amongst eligible players in 3-pointers made per game at 3 per game, and is shooting them at a 41.4% clip. I actually think that Michael Porter Jr. is ready for a bigger role offensively, but right now I think this ranking feels right. At number 7, I've got Andrew Wiggins. The Warriors have sorely missed Wiggins' presence on the wings, and there's no question he elevates the Warriors' ceiling a ton. Wiggins only played in 37 games during the regular season, and when he did play alongside Curry, Clay, Draymond, and Looney, which is the regular starting 5, the Warriors had an insane plus 21.9 net rating. Now, there's no question that Wiggins is elite defensively, and he delivered when it mattered most on the big stage, completely locking up Jayson Tatum in the finals last year. He's pretty much the perfect fit for Golden State, tasked with locking down the opponent's best perimeter player and also acting as a complementary scorer. At number 6, I've got Khris Middleton, who is as complete of a non-superstar player as you'll find in this league and is the perfect number 2 to Giannis with his ability to generate his own offense in the half court, especially being that closer as well for the Bucks, because that obviously isn't a strong suit of Giannis's, right? He can do it all. He can score, shoot, defend, act as a secondary playmaker, and if he was healthy last season, there's a very, very good chance the Bucks repeat as back-to-back champs, but, shit happens and injuries are a part of the game, unfortunately. Regardless, the Bucks are now the title favorites with their healthy Middleton, and deservedly so, especially now that Middleton has kind of found his rhythm after injuries and being in and out of the rotation all season long. At number 5, I've got Jimmy Butler. Playoff Jimmy is the real deal, man. He's on a short list of players who I'd want to be the leader of my team going into a 7-game series, and I feel like he's that guy who can just carry a bunch of bums into the playoffs and give the 96 Bulls a run for their money. He consistently shows up on the bigger stage and can do absolutely whatever you need to get the win, whether it's dropping 40 points or dishing out 10 plus dimes for his teammates. His mid-range is absolutely money, and with the game on the line, Jimmy G Buckets is still one of the very few guys I'd trust to clamp the opposing team's best player. So I've got him at number 5. Now, the top 4 is on another level, and for me, they're extremely close in rankings, so depending on what you value more, you can easily swap the rankings, and there really isn't a wrong answer if you ask me. With that being said, at number 4, I do have LeBron James. And it feels criminal listing LeBron at number 4, but that's just how deep the small forward position is right now league-wide. LeBron, even at 38 years of age, is still a very fucking great player, but we have to admit that he has declined a little bit, especially on the defensive end, where I'll actually say he's declined a lot. It just seems like he's either locked in and looking like Miami LeBron defensively, or he's a complete traffic cone who puts in zero effort, and unfortunately, he puts in zero effort 98% of the time, which is a shame. But offensively, LeBron is still 95% the same threat that he's always been, even with the slight loss in his athleticism and explosiveness. And so this ranking is absolutely no knock on LeBron because he is one of my favorite players, but quite simply right now, I take the top 3 over him, and a lot of it is just due to the fact that LeBron is no longer a high-level defender. At number 3, I've got Jayson Tatum, who in my opinion is the best two-way wing today, and I feel like his defense isn't spoken about nearly enough, especially after quote-unquote locking down KD in the playoffs last year and holding him to just 26.3 points on 38.6% field goal shooting and 33.3% three-point shooting. Offensively, Tatum is extremely well-rounded, finishing 16 points per game in the regular season and averaging a career high in both rebounds and assists per game. The only criticism that I do have with Tatum is that when his shot isn't falling, he has a tendency to settle for horrible shots such as his patented sidestep 3, rather than impacting the game in other ways, which he's certainly capable of doing, and he has proven in the past where he dropped, 13 dimes against the Golden State Warriors in Game 1 of the finals last year. And as much as I love Tatum as a player, because he's probably my favorite player right now, he is one of those superstars who has a ceiling as high as any of them, but his floor when his shot isn't falling is just extremely low. And so for the purposes of this video, for the playoffs itself, where, a win or a loss in one game can make or break a series, I have to put him at number 3. At number 2, I've got Kawhi Leonard. Like I mentioned, I'm a Celtics fan and Tatum's my favorite player, but when I look at Kawhi's 2019 title run with the Raptors, as well as Tatum's finals run last season, I gotta go with Kawhi. Even if Kawhi isn't the same player as he was with Toronto, he's still 90 to 95% that player. And I know, yes, Tatum's improving, but he just hasn't shown that level of consistency on the bigger stage that Kawhi has. Now, you look at Kawhi as a player himself as well. I feel like his off games are much far and fewer in between in comparison to Tatum, who seems to have off games every other game, really. And Kawhi himself, not to disrespect Jayson Tatum, he's insanely good. His mid-range game is Jordan-esque. He's their probably second best playmaker on the Clippers after Russell Westbrook. The guy can score from all three levels. He can lock down opposing players, and he remains so calm and poised because of the robot that he is. And so I've got to go with Kawhi Leonard at number 2. And so at number 1, obviously I do have KD, Kevin Durant. Look, as great as LeBron, Tatum, and Kawhi are, Kevin Durant, as long as you consider him a small forward and not a power forward, which I do, is the best small forward in the league today, plain and simple. He still looks very much like the Warriors KD, even after the Achilles tear, which was pretty much unheard of in the past, and he is the first player to average 55, 40, and 90 in a season. And he's someone that makes scoring 30 points or 40 points in a game just look so effortless. And as good as he is offensively, he's also a damn good defender, with opponents shooting 5.7% less than their season average whilst being defended by KD. And that is a much better mark than both Kawhi and Tatum, which, when you think about it reputation-wise, they're both better. They're thought of as better defenders than KD. Now, this one is pretty straightforward for me. As good as the top 4 are, I think you can make a legit argument for the order of LeBron, Tatum, and Kawhi, but I think KD is the clear-cut number 1 small forward going into the playoffs. And so, there you have it. That's my ranking for every single starting small forward in the 2023 NBA playoffs. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below, whether you agree or disagree. Be sure to subscribe and stay tuned for my power forward and center videos coming in the next few days. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.